Hey guys, wanted to go ahead and do a review of the Yu9 Que and to go from there. So this IEM, I actually got it off of AV Exchange. It's very hard to get a hold of, and you can't normally get it. Normally, you have to I don't know. It's hard to get. And I basically someone wanted to sell it on AV Exchange, and I was like, okay, let's get it. Let's get it done. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put some notes on the screen. There's a lot of notes here. There's tons of notes. And the video is going to be short because it would just take too long to go over all the notes. But if you check the notes, you could tell, this took me hours to do. Yeah. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about what this is all about and to go from there. Okay, so let's get right into it. So, in terms of bass, I would actually give this a rank of A. It had massive power, massive impact. This has freaking bass and power and impact. You could feel it. I was like, oh yeah, all right. The sub bass is, for me, I thought this was Beats by Dre-ish. Actually, in other words, now I was actually checking other people's reviews, and everyone has different stance but I think in general, okay, so here's bass, right? The sub bass, if this was correct, as in this is probably how that song is supposed to probably sound in terms of sub bass, in the background. Simple words just don't move me. You're minor, we major, you're all a bit. This is above correct. And then this is Beats by Dre, right? Where it's whoa, it's definitely way above fun. Definitely not neutral when it comes to sub bass. And then this is polite, where, it's kind of there, but it's kind of slid to the background. And this is more anemic, where it's you can't even hear it, right? So it's somewhere between above correct and Beats by Dre. But the more and more I listen to the song, I'm going to say it's more Beats by Dre. It's definitely exaggerated, very fun. What I said in my notes is actually, I wouldn't be surprised if bass heads would love this. And the other thing I would say is, has this IEM ever been discussed saying that its bass is good? Because that's not exactly, I've heard many things about this IEM. Nobody talks about the bass on it, But I genuinely thought it was good. I thought the bass on here was better than the Punch Audio Martillo, which I already checked out. I thought it was better than, actually, the quality of the bass on here. I actually like it better than RSV Mark II, because RSV Mark II just feels too much, a little bit this just feels just right. Now, I know it may confuse some folks because I have ranked the Sibilance Que as A, and they're how can you call this A when they're so different? It's just different. This is more a balanced kind of bass, it's balanced, and it just feels it gives you enough. It never feels oh man, I wish I had more. You know what I mean? It just feels it balanced, but this is ooh, we got some bass going on here, buddy. And this is really, really, really well done. Female vocals, I'm going to give this a grade of S tier, as in this is spectacular. I wrote in my notes actually that I think this has better female vocals, or actually than some of the stuff I've given S to. I actually thought this blew me away more than Kiwi or Astral. I actually think this is better than Misty Blue, which I also ranked a rank of S. And I think this actually sounds better than Sibilance Que, which I also ranked S. So this is actually, and I said in my notes, this would give Studio 4 a run of its money. And I love Studio 4, and I gave Studio 4, I never actually did rank those with a new system, but if I did, I would definitely give it S for female vocals. But this is basically an S for female vocals, one of the best I've heard. In terms of male vocals, I'm actually, another thing that's important too, I want to write this down here. So what I found shocking about this was on the instrument test, which is the Luna harshness test, it's basically where a bunch of harsh instruments start coming in. Dude, I didn't have to lower the volume at all. This thing handles sibilance and harshness so well. It is amazing. Just that track usually is really harsh, and this is impervious to that harshness. And I think I only know a few. There's only two types of IEMs that can do that. Bad IEMs because they have no detail at all, and then good IEMs because they're really well tuned. So this is so well. It's in other words, this would sound really good on instruments, harsh instruments and harsh vocals. This is impervious to sibilance, which is spectacular. Male vocals, I'm going to go ahead and give this a rank of B. But if you look at my notes, I was struggling. I was debating whether I should give it an A or a B, and it's between an A and a B. But what I did was I actually cross-checked with a ton of IEMs to get a sense of where it's at. So I cross-checked with the RDT10, and the RDT10 with Kiwi Ears Flex, this actually has better male vocals compared to this. And I rank this a grade of A or I don't know if I've ever ranked it in the new style, but I would give it a rank of A for male vocals. So this was, but it's funny because as I was checking the song, I was checking the Soundstage, and this blows this away in Soundstage. I was like, whoa, this is way better in Soundstage compared to this. I was checking the Yu9 Que 2. The Yu9 Que 2 has better male vocals than this, but this has way better Soundstage. But just, I noticed off the bat, this just has a little bit better. So my rationale is if I gave this a rank of A, then I can't give this a rank of A. This has to be lower than A. I checked this with the Zigot Lush, and when I checked the male vocals, the male vocals on this are better. So my rationale is if I would normally give this like an A or like an S for male vocals, I can't give this an A. Right. By the way, this blows this away in terms of Soundstage. It just feels like, I remember when I went back and I listened to the Lush right after this, it's laughable. It's like, what the heck? Like, this feels small and flat and unrealistic in the way it's like the plane, and this just feels like a wide, massive field, like just in terms of Soundstage. I compared it to the Manger T Pro for male vocals, and I found it actually kind of interesting that they were actually on par. Like, I was listening, like, they're pretty on par. And I think if I rated the Manger T Pro today, as in like today, with the new format, I probably would give this closer to a B on male vocals, not an A. Certainly not S. The other thing I noticed, which is actually, this is not a meme. I'm dead serious. This is not a meme. This is the Kiwi Ears Bell. It's a $20 IM. I rank this as an A for male vocals. And I look back at my notes. I'm like, I did. I had to check. And when I went back and listened to it just now, I kid you not, it was holding its own against this in male vocals. That's not saying that these male vocals are bad or it sounds like a $20 IM, because I did tell you that it's about on par with the T Pro in terms of male vocals. That just goes to show that for some weird reason, the Kiwi Ears Bell sounds really good on male vocals, and that's what I noticed about it. Anyway, so this is a ranking of B for male vocals. The issue inherently, and I'll tell you why that this is, I gave it a B. It's weird. The vocals, the male vocals are full. They're natural sounding, but they are slightly higher pitched, and they're slightly bright. Like, kind of like, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of bring this to my monitoring section, because this actually kind of explains to you, or it makes it make more sense when I was actually listening with my own voice. I wore this IM, I used a microphone, a neutral microphone, and I was speaking with it and listening, what is it doing to my voice? Because what happens is, whatever happens to my voice, it does to other male vocals as well. And what I notice is it makes my voice slightly warm, just by a few drops, but it also it adds a little bit of brightness at the same time. So I used an analogy here of Sprite and hot cocoa being poured into a bowl, because it's kind of like, it's slightly warm, but it's slightly bright at the same time. And that's the Yu9 KMS 105. This microphone here has a, kind of a neutral tonality to it, but it has a slight warmness, but a slightly like shimmer to it. It's weird. It's really well done. It's not like flat out warm like a Shure SM7B, but it's not flat out bright and tinny and bright as shit like a TLM 103 or like a AT2020. It's like, it's smooth. It's smooth but warm but has a shimmer to it. Yu9 KMS 105 is, well, and I'll do a demonstration at the end if you're curious as to how this sounds. In terms of Soundstage, dude, I thought these were excellent. I was like, what the hell? Like, this, like, as I was going through and I was checking out the Soundstage, I mean, the funny thing was, as I was going through and I was checking male vocals with each of these, I began to quickly realize this is blowing away everything in Soundstage. So this has one of the best Soundstage, at least I thought, in terms of IMs. I had to put a new category for this one, because it's definitely, really, really spectacular in terms of Soundstage. The other thing I want to talk about is Sibilance. Now, I already did mention Sibilance, but only for instruments, but I want to talk about Sibilance in general. The Sibilance scores on this are excellent. This is like absolutely excellent. Like, it was just all perfect, like basically all across the board. Like, it didn't even get high. It was low or zero or medium. It was, even when you crank it up, it would never get high. It would never get painful. You will not get any sibilance with this. This is like super smooth. So yeah, that's all I got here. All right, so here's the Neumann KMS 105, and this is how my voice sounds like when I listen with this IM, the Yu9 Que. You'll notice it doesn't sound super warm or dark like it does with other microphones I've demonstrated in the past, but it also doesn't sound super bright. It's kind of more balanced, but with a little bit of warmth and a little bit of brightness, but it's smooth. That's kind of what this sounds like to me.